You said we're going to do something to your brain.
Hello and welcome to Dead Air 32. I'm George, this is Christina, and today we're talking about Silo, Peep Show, a bit more about Severance, Ratopia, and a whole load of other stuff, I guess. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Everything is good. Things are great. How are you?
Good. What are you talking about? Cleaning up waste, Lean Fruigi,
Lean Fruigi.
God. Everything's wonderful.
Yeah. So, what first?
Did you want to update people on animals?
Animal updates. Yeah, sure. Things are pretty good with the aminals.
Yeah.
Maxie really needs to get fixed soon. I think she's just about there. I think she might be approaching 6 months, perhaps. It's hard to tell.
That's a wild cat that
Maxie
decided to live with us.
Yeah, she was teeny tiny little kitty when she showed up.
In the barn.
And now she's looking pretty big, so I guess we need to take care of that soon. Saw Peter Possum yesterday, eating some cat food on my grandma's porch. It was a really nice night, so everybody was out. Maxie wanted to play with it, and it said no. Hissed at her, and she just looked confused and kept trying. Just get the hell away from there.
It's big.
It's big, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying it's probably like a year old. It looks like a
60-year-old
man.
possum.
Yeah.
And it moves like it's old.
Yeah, they all kind of move like that, though. Kind of lumbering back and forth.
Like beavers. Have you ever seen a beaver?
Yeah, they move like that, too. Yeah. Yeah. Always very indignant looking. Yeah. Saw Pengu. See him like once a month. The other cat, pretty sure he lives in the shed. We just leave the door cracked so he can go in and out. And I put extra food in the barn for him. So occasionally catch him in there eating it and then looking embarrassed if he sees me and running away.
And we had some coyotes come through, which was nice.
Oh yeah, again. Yeah, more coyotes. You can hear them. They're not here. Relax.
I thought he was a dingo.
Glymo's here.
Baby Mark.
Hopefully being quiet for a bit.
So what do you want to start with?
I figured to start with Peep Show.
Okay.
Which we watched a good 3 times in a row, sort of recently. While playing games, of course. I'm just sitting watching it, doing nothing else. But it was good. I guess neither of us had seen it in a while.
Yeah, I probably haven't watched it in 10 years.
Yeah, I'd say for me probably more 15 even.
Yeah.
I think they were only up to season 6 the last time I watched it years ago.
Yeah.
And it was better than I remembered. I liked it before. But it was even more charming now, kind of endearing.
Why was it more charming now?
I don't know. I don't know. I find, I guess a lot of the characters that I found to be absolute obnoxious pricks, which they are, to be more charming.
Weren't you saying when we watched Office Space that you could almost write a PhD on there being a sort of distinct break in how mainstream comedy approaches its subject matter from before 2008 and after?
Yeah. Was I saying that?
I thought, broadly,
I don't
that's
remember
right.
that.
Yeah, well, I cleaned it up a bit.
Okay. Well, you tell me what I said, because I don't remember.
Well, you were going on about, they've actually, these people in Office Space who've got these boring office jobs have actually got, pretty good lives.
Yeah.
Even by American standards.
I get paid for doing something that, is, boring is my big complaint, and people are annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, at the end, was it Peter? It's I'm going to work in construction, because that's way nicer. Is it? Yeah, we watched that, I guess, earlier this year or something, for the first time again in a while, and it was, I liked it still. It's still very funny, but it's also kind of I don't know, oh, you poor Gen Xers. I don't know.
And this
saying that, I'm sitting in my living room talking to a camera, so.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing I've done.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think?
What about Peep Show?
You brought up Office Space, so.
Well, no, I just wondered if that kind of goes into it, because obviously Peep Show started to be made before the 2008 recession.
Yeah.
The before times.
Yeah, the before times.
But, like, I'm not trying to, like, over-egg 2008, like, oh, it was a turning point or anything like that. But there was definitely a shift with a lot of stuff, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the real turning point in America was 2001.
Sure.
But, yeah. Well, anyway. Yeah, not trying to dog on Office Space. I still like it.
Yeah.
But does feel, like, slightly different now, you know. Whatever, 20 years later, whatever it's been.
What about Idiocracy?
Oh, yeah, we did watch that late last year.
I'd vote for Camacho.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny, and, I mean, you know, some of it is, like, uproariously funny, and then some of it is, like, funny, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I definitely get a lot more references now, having seen it.
Well, you'd never seen it before?
No, that was my first time watching it with you.
Idiocracy?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's got electrolytes. Yeah. Prescient, I guess.
So Peep Show.
Peep Show, yes. Well, what did you think going back to it?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
I really like it, and I remember sort of losing a lot of interest in it after they originally said that they were going to end after the fourth season. Mm-hmm. And I think that the fourth season was built really well around it being the end, where Mark and Jeremy get into the wedding car together, and it's like, yeah, they're meant for each other.
Yeah, it does feel like a kind of natural end point.
And I didn't really like the fifth and sixth season as much when they came out, and I think I probably, last time I saw it was maybe season 7. And then, yeah, like I said, I haven't seen it in 10 years. Going back, I think it's more like about season 7 kind of lags a bit. But it's still very funny all the way until the end.
Yeah. It does, I agree, kind of not quite as good around them, but it is still good. Should we say what Peep Show is, in case anybody has no idea what we're talking about?
What is it?
Peep Show is about 2 English chaps, who...
Sort of like middle class,
yeah.
almost posh.
Yeah. Mark, who is kind of works in like an office in like the financial sector, credit management.
Yeah.
And is kind of a wannabe intellectual type. And terrified of women, and also thinks every woman he meets is the one, based on like 2-word interactions.
Exceptionally lonely.
Very lonely, and for somebody who really knows a lot and is quite smart, is also really pathetic.
Yeah, I mean they're both pathetic in their own ways.
You know, his problems are all of his own making. And then Jeremy, his, I don't know, what would you call him? Like layabout friend who never pays rent and lives with him, and mostly gets high, and also seems to fall in love with random women.
Jeremy's like both a sponge, but also an actual friend.
Yeah.
But not a very reliable friend.
Yeah.
But also maybe Mark's only conduit into the world of the normallo.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, Jeremy's kind of like a very distractible, like, poodle. You know what I mean?
Poodle? Why poodle?
I don't know. I just picked a little, I guess they're not that little, like a yappy dog. I don't know, like just very distractible and, you know, simple, kind of a dumbass, but charming. And yeah, they're meant for each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it's about. It's them trying to survive in everyday life, I guess. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, but it's not about their survival. Like, they're actually fine.
Well, I mean, like, social survival.
Social survival, yeah. I suppose so. trying to prosper. I mean, Jeremy wants to be a musician. I mean, he is a musician.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Just not a successful one.
Yeah,
he
kind
wants
of
to be
a terrible musician. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not just he wants to be a musician. He wants to be famous.
Yeah, that's his dream, to be a famous musician.
You say terrible, This Is Outrageous is not that bad.
I think that's a great song, yeah, but...
It's like the Whacking Phoenix documentary fiction film where he pretends that Whacking Phoenix, wants to be a rapper. And, like, he fucks it up at every turn and stuff. Some of his raps, whilst deliberately terribly performed, were like, that's not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm still here. I'm still...
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, yeah, some of the songs from Jez and Superhands, Jez's friend, are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That one that they're doing in the pub in Dobby season. The Apprentice. Like, that was pretty banging, I thought. I'd be pleased if I went to a pub and they were playing that. I'm like, this is rocking.
One of the best songs I ever heard was at an open mic comedy night where most of it was just stand-up. And, like, some of the stand-up was pretty good. Some of it was, like... But I remember these two dudes came up, and I think they were, like, Northern Irish. They introduced, like, we're both from, like, Belfast, and we've both lived in London for, like, 2 years. And this is our song about London. And then they put these masks on, and one was a mask of just a newspaper with eyes, and the other was a mask of, like, an enormous pigeon shitting on the floor. And they sang a song about London, and it was, like, the best song I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I've looked online, I've looked on YouTube, and I mean, it must have been, like, yeah, at least 15 years. Yeah, 15 years ago, maybe.
Where did you see this?
At an open mic night in a pub. Like a comedy open, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
In London, yeah.
Yeah.
And it went like, London, it isn't dirty at all. It was really funny.
Yeah. Right,
it was a comedy song, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So what else in Peep Show? We didn't mention Sophie.
Well, I guess one thing to say about Peep Show is part of the reason it's called that, and part of its sort of ISP, is that a lot of it, but not all of it, is filmed as if it's POV.
Yeah.
Which they've said, or the makers have said, like, they think is alienating.
Yeah, I think the producer said that...
This could have been really hot.
Yeah, that they thought that was something that hindered it from getting a bigger audience. But I think it really adds to it. Especially when you have, like, Mark and Jez talking to each other, and you're back and forth, like, they're looking at each other's faces and reactions to each other. Jeremy has the best faces. Like, even to his friends, and people are being nice to him, and he's just like, what? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny. I mean, I think that if it were filmed like a normal sitcom, to me, I think that would be way more boring. I really like the POV stuff. You know, like really close, and somebody cutting spaghetti, you know.
Jeremy eating beans out of the can.
Beans out of a can, or a plate full of beans in another one.
Good old Britain.
Yeah. Another time he's eating just a plate of mashed potatoes, like a big plate. Talking to Nancy, yeah. Unconventional comedy, I would call it.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I think it's very funny. I think that's the only thing that really matters. But I think in some ways it's very conventional in that it is, you know, it explores these things, but they are quite middle class.
Yeah.
You know, Mark went to private school at one time in his life, not for all of his life, all of his school life. Jeremy has money coming in from his mum.
Yeah. Like monthly, and still won't pay rent to Mark for like months at a time. And
I just, you know, and I like the way it does it, and I think it represents them sort of fairly, but that is very conventional. Like, you very rarely see like sitcoms about like poor people. And you do.
Yeah. I know what you mean. That aspect of it is pretty typical, but it's done in a funny way.
Well, I'm not even saying, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Who would you rather be friends with in real life?
What, like actual friends or like work friends or
Like actual friends.
Jeremy?
Jeremy. Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet he'd be fun to be around. For a bit, you know.
Yeah. Although I bet I could more rely on Mark.
Yeah, obviously Mark's more reliable, but like obnoxious as shit as well. Like he cannot do anything without complaining.
That's just a British standard.
Yeah, but complaining about like nothing.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, I don't have one off the top of my head, but he's just constantly complaining about, and like his problems are so like nonsense, really. You know, all the trouble he goes through because his the wall in his apartment is like damp and needs replacing. Like all this nonsense about I'm gonna become I don't even know what it is, like building, like superintendent, something like that.
They're all owned. They're all condos, right?
Yeah.
Flats. That's
Okay.
what they're called.
Yeah, I understand.
And they're all owned, so it's a municipal fund of the flat to look after like the hallway and repairs and stuff.
Yeah, and he wants to get it to pay for his wall problem. So he's gonna go through all this trouble of like becoming, like whatever you'd call it, to use the money for like the whole building to fix his wall, and then finds out it's like $10,000 is what they've quoted him, and like
Dollar dues.
all this trouble. Like he made a PowerPoint presentation to try and do this. Just fix the fucking wall, you know. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and then ends up well.
Yeah, I mean, Mark has like I mean, if Mark was a real person, he has an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
Like a debilitating one.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. And so many times where, like, he gets into, like, trouble with, like, embarrassing himself, like, in front of women. And it would be so easy to, like, stop those situations. Like, the whole burying Sophie in a ball pit thing, you know. And then the girl he likes comes up, why? Sophie's like, why did you bury me? All he has to be is like, that's my ex-wife. She showed up drunk, and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That would smooth it over for anybody. But instead, I don't know her. Oh, no, she's like a clown. And
But
he just cannot, talk to people.
but that's the fundamental flaw with fast comedy, isn't it? Like, Frasier and Niles could have had a lot more success and boring episodes if they just not jumped to the most absurd solution.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not complaining about it. That's what makes
Yeah.
it funny. Is that kind of stuff. Where
Yeah.
just, Mark, what are you doing, Mark? The same as, what are you doing, Frasier? It's exactly the
Stab
same.
the seal, Frasier.
setup,
Stab it
yeah.
over and over.
Don't buy a restaurant, Niles and Frasier. No, you don't know what you're doing. That's a bad idea. That's where the humor comes from.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in real life, that would be annoying as hell. Whereas Jez is like, let's watch TV and eat a tin of beans.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, it struck me as well watching it that, and I guess I hadn't really realised this when I first watched it, that, like, there's no one who's likeable or who comes across like they're meant to be likeable. Like, you like them, but they're not good people.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Can you think of anyone?
I mean, that's part of it is like I think Hans is likable, but
I think
I
that-
wouldn't trust him with anything. I wouldn't trust him
with
to
my
walk
boiler.
to walk my dog. Trust him with your boiler. Is what he said. Yeah. I mean, there isn't really a character who's like just straight good, and like not kind of a moron or a weirdo. No, there isn't anyone like that. So, if you need that, you probably wouldn't like the show.
It's sort of like, in that respect, it's sort of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, except that in that show that we do meet good, normal people, occasionally decent people, who usually leave very quickly.
Or have their lives ruined by the gang. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes Croydon especially look like a horrible place, which I seem to remember it kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that horrible, but
Don't look at me, I have no idea.
Croydon.
Yeah. Yeah, was it South London?
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose is it technically even London? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's no Twickenham. Anything else to say about it?
No, just it's fun. Yeah, I mean, do you think that they'll bring it back again at some point? If they did, like the boys would be like 50 now. Yeah. Jeremy turned 40 in the last season.
They meet up to bury super hands.
Bury super hands. Yeah.
I guess one thing as well, like thinking of it is, I guess at the time, I mean, again, like I was 20, I was younger than that when I first saw it. It came out probably when I was like 15 or something. It seemed quite edgy in terms of, like people swearing and talking about like trombone and like snorting ketamine and stuff and doing all of this stuff. Like, was it?
Like really edgy?
I mean, in terms of a comedy, in terms of the stuff it would explore.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what did this air on in the UK?
Channel 4.
Yeah, which is just like I mean, it definitely would not have aired on a, like, network TV in the US.
Yeah.
Like, ever, no. You couldn't air it on network TV here now. You could air it on, like, FX. Like what Sunny was on. But for, like, just, regular TV, anybody could turn it on and watch it. Like, no, you wouldn't see that here. So, I guess here, I don't know. It depends on, excuse me, I guess on who's watching and where it aired. But to me, it's not that edgy, no.
Why not? What stops it being edgy?
Well, I mean, I don't know. They're doing drugs and stuff,
but it's not actually
people,
about
like banging each other.
Social struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is. Just, I don't think it is. I think it's funny. And yeah, it would never have aired on like NBC here.
I mean, Mark gets raped at one point.
Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah. And refuses to admit that that's what it is. Yeah. Hands. It sounds like you got raped. Yeah. I mean, that sounds crazy, but it's funny.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah.
How would you make it edgier then?
I don't think it needs to be edgier.
I know that, but how would you?
I don't know. I mean, again, it depends on what you mean by edgy, because from certain eyes, it absolutely is. There's a bit where Jeremy runs over a girl's dog that he's trying to date and then hides it, and they try to burn it and cook it, and then he like eats it in front of her pretending that it's turkey. That might be pretty edgy to some people, I guess. I don't know. Just depends what you mean by edgy. Like edgelordy edgy?
No, I don't mean edgelordy. I mean like actually kind of like, oof, this is at the very precipice of what is actually acceptable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, like I say, if it aired here, now even on network TV, yeah, it would probably be into unacceptable. That's just the difference between U.S. British television, I guess.
Right. Unacceptable.
Yeah, unacceptable.
Alright, did you want to move on?
Sure.
Did you have anything to say about the Ruby Franke thing?
That's what we wrote down, Ruby Franke
See,
thing.
you could do an edgy comedy about that, right?
Frankie? Is it Ruby Franke?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Ruby Franke.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
The Ruby Franke saga. It's a YouTuber who horribly abuses her kids. She was almost going to kill him.
Yeah.
But it's told by David Lynch, R.I.P., right? Over 6 episodes. It's got a laugh track on it, but it's filmed like German expressionism. Could be edgy.
That could be good.
And then occasionally where she's whipping the children, it goes blurry and David Lynch leans in, like across the screen. He's like, the joke here, I'm speaking like this because now I am Werner Herzog. is that the abuse of the child is contrary to the will and sanctity of the motherhood. And then slowly it's off. And then we get the Frasier laugh track come in. That'd amuse me.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Bit niche, but...
Yeah.
Call up HBO. I need $150 million.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about Ruby Franke?
Oh, no, I mean, we watched another it's a documentary on Hulu, I believe. It's like Ruby Franke, Monster in the House, Criminal in the House. It's from 2025. And it was actually really good. We'd watched another one about the same story, like a few months back that was like, okay, like, yeah, that's crazy. But this one's different because they actually, excuse me, popping my knuckles here. They actually interview her, I guess, ex-husband, who was like part of this YouTube channel with her. It was like them filming their kids. They're Mormons. Like, look at how happy and amazing our family is. We're so great. And then kind of separated from her husband because she got involved with this, what I would probably call a con artist, therapist, who basically like taught her about like abusing her kids, but she was kind of already on the path toward that anyways.
Who ended up living with her.
Possibly
as her lesbian lover.
Possibly as her lover. And then, like, one of the kids escaped the house while nobody was there and ran to a neighbor's house and was, like, severely emaciated and covered in duct tape. And, yeah, police bust down the door, blah, 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 blah. Was different here is, so her husband that she was separated from tells a lot of the story from his side. And that is interesting. And supplies, like, I think it said, like, 1,000 hours of footage, like, behind-the-scenes footage, which really adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
You know, like, she's doing her influencer bit, you know, like, hi, this is our family. What are you doing? Like, screaming at her kids, you know, like, all kinds of shit like that is just really disturbing, and adds a whole other cast to the story. So if you're at all interested in insane influencers, that it was actually really good. And different from the kind of, you know, very surface level, like, documentary stuff that's already out there about this. This was actually good, and interesting. Kind of hearing the behind-the-scenes story of how it got to that point, you know. And her kids are on it, her older kids, telling their story and what it was like growing up, you know, having to be on camera for, like, their entire childhood.
Yeah.
You know, for...
Yeah.
They're told, like, you're an employee. And they have this footage of, like, them in the van and the mom being like, if you want $10, you have to smile and be part of the video.
Yeah.
Like, just really,
And she was making $120,000 a month.
Yes. Loads of sponsorships. Yeah, they were, she said, making millions doing this. And the kids are just, like, fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So that, it was something. It was actually worth watching. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name of the fucking thing. It's on Hulu. It's good.
Ruby Franke.
That's all. Did you have anything to say about that? That's all I got.
No. I mean, I agree. I liked it, and the background stuff, like you said, added a lot. Severance.
Yeah.
Season 2.
Should we take a very short break before we get into the meat here of this?
The meat? Yeah. Why? Oh, hit of the crack rock.
5 minutes later.
Tell the dog that if he doesn't shut up, I'll put him back in the hamster wheel. Oh, shit. Hello. Yeah, they were duct taping people, right? The kids, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was like a hidden room in the basement with like a vault door on it with like ropes and all kinds of shit. Religious nutcase.
Yes.
Kind of where it goes. She's like chosen by God and
yeah, they thought that the kids were demonic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's worth watching.
Yeah.
Disturbing, but very interesting.
Severance Season 2.
Yes.
Disturbing and interesting.
Severance Season 2. What do you think?
What do you think?
I've been talking a lot. It's your turn.
Mm-hmm. Severance is a TV show made by Apple Plus. It is directed and I believe executive produced by Ben Stiller. It features Adam Scott as well as John Turturro and others. Christopher Walken.
Ben Stiller doesn't direct all of it.
No, he doesn't. No.
But like several episodes this season, I guess.
Moving on.
We loved the first
Patricia
season.
Arquette.
Patricia Arquette. She's in it.
Yeah, go on.
Really loved the first season. It was really good. This season, not really feeling it. And I think we've discussed this a bit. Like, I wonder if part of that is because we were able to watch the first season all in one go.
Yeah.
I think we watched it in like 2 days.
We discovered it out quite a bit after it had come out.
Which is pretty typical.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really good. But I feel like there's a lot more time-wasty stuff in this season. The first one had really great, it really kept, it felt like it was building towards the ending, like, really strongly. Like, it kept building on itself and getting, like, more interesting, and, you know, this climax, it was really good. And then I felt like the first episode of the second season, we have to step back and, like, the first episode almost felt like a giant recap.
Yes, I agree.
And it's like, I know what happened last time. We just watched it the second time, you know.
Yeah, and
that's right, Clyde.
Like, I like the flavour of it, but I think that, you know, we have established the flavour.
Yeah.
We've established the tone, and I remember before it came out, Adam Scott was asked, like, what are people going to feel at the end of season 2? Because we know that season 3 is going to be the last season. And he said to whatever it was, the Hollywood Reporter, whatever, I think at the end of season 2, people are going to be really, really excited for season 3. And be like, oh, what happened? I want to know. And that kind of read to me cynically as like, not a lot's going to happen in season 2. But that's not true. Stuff has happened.
Yeah.
Just
And to its credit, when I heard like season 3 will be the last one, I was like, yay! There's an end in sight. There's a plan for this.
Yeah, don't do the handmaids.
God,
thing.
where it just goes forever. We'll just keep adding shit.
Just another stepping stone. Another
zoom in,
problem.
loud music. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna do something this time. But I just like especially this last episode that just aired. It feels like the whole episode could be summarized as Patricia Arquette goes to a house where she grew up as a kid to find a thing, and she finds it. The end. Am I wrong?
No, but there's other episodes like in season 1 where it's almost the same thing. Where, you know.
And again, maybe if you're able to watch the whole thing,
right?
You know, it wouldn't feel so frustrating.
So it's more of a problem with it coming out every week.
Yeah.
Is it? Do you think?
I do think that adds to the issue for me. I guess you were saying, like, maybe we've been spoiled by, you know, watching older streaming series, being able to just watch the whole thing and not having to wait a week. Because then it just feels like an hour of my time, not even an hour, 40 minutes of my time wasted. You know, like, that was it. I gotta wait next week to see if anything happens. And it feels like 3 episodes of this season have ended with, like, Mark waking up, you know.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
And just, I will say I love Milkshake. He's, like, become the best character.
Yes, Milkshake is one of my favourite characters, too.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was way more of him.
Egg bar.
He was great in the first season, too. I think the actor's performance adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
But his story as well is interesting. Maybe in part because it isn't over-explained, kind of. Like, I don't need a whole episode about, like, the backstory with Mark's wife. Do you know what I mean?
I agree, and I guess this is where it comes down to personal taste. One of the, I suppose, more famous episodes of Breaking Bad is The Fly, where Jesse and Walt... Breaking Bad is about 2 dudes who cook crystal meth for a myriad of reasons. And The Fly takes place, I think, almost all in their lab. By this time, their super sophisticated underground lab. And there's a fly flying around. And it's a contaminant. And Walt wants the fly. And some people really like it. But I watched that episode with Damien where we were, like, binging it. And we did not like it because Like, yeah, it brings out their character, it showcases their character, but I don't think it builds on their character. Like, I know who they are by then, and I sort of feel a bit like that, a bit with the Patricia Arquette episode. What was it called? Sweet Vitriol.
Yeah.
Where, like, there's a twist.
Yeah.
And like we reveal, but do we really learn much? And does that twist really matter?
Yeah. I mean, I think that whole episode could have been like a 15-minute segment of like another episode.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and not just in this episode, but there are, in several episodes of this season, really long stretches, long shots of like people driving cars, people looking at each other. You know, the actors are all good, you know, but like, do those bits really move the story forward? And it wouldn't be a big deal if it didn't feel like so much of the season is kind of like what I would call fluff.
See, when you just said a lot of the actors just driving, again, it took me back to Breaking Bad. I swear, like, 10% of the first season is Walter White doing this. While his wife's going on and... So I guess it comes down to personal taste. I mean, wasn't The Handmaid's Tale, the first season, like a lot of it was all in Selena, was it? The commander's wife. A lot, like 10% of it was in her kitchen. Like where she's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we watched that, but I remember really liking that first season.
Yeah.
I think that stuff added, there was like a sense of, from what I recall, like a real sense of dread and suspense and like what's going to happen. And yeah, I guess part of it for me definitely is how it felt like the first season ended on such a strong note, and then we're slowing things like way down in terms of story progression. Yeah, like I personally don't care about Patricia Arquette's backstory. Like,
not enough for it to be a whole...
Not enough for it to be a whole episode, for sure. Yeah. Like, a little bit of that, yeah. Like, she, was raised by them and, like, involved in, like, child labor. That's interesting. I don't need 40 minutes of that, you know.
Like, I don't need 40 minutes of, like, 7-year-old John Turturro.
Yeah, that wouldn't really add anything to move the story forward for me. Unless it's, like, really fucking good, you know.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since season 1. And you were saying that, maybe the writers have sort of emotionally moved on.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to work it out. Like, it doesn't have, for me, the same, like, spark of, like inspiration that I felt from the first season.
Yes.
Yeah, like, maybe, I don't know. I'm just searching for a reason. Maybe it's been a while and the, like, passion for it isn't quite what it was, or, they've moved on, like, mentally. Other stuff. I have no idea, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as a guess, I'm not saying this is the case, but it almost feels like they wrote the first season, and had a vague idea of what they wanted to happen later, but didn't know, like, how long that would take to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe it really only needed season 2, but we haven't got to the end of season 2 or seen season 3, so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it does feel like, like this season so far could have been told, again, not having seen the last 2 episodes yet, it feels like this could have been told in like 6 episodes, or like 8 at the most. But somebody was like, it has to be 10. The first one was 10, it's got to be 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have to kind of fill... Like, we've had so many scenes of, like, what's his name? Get that jelly mold out of here.
Yeah.
Like...
Dylan,
yeah. Like, multiple... At least 2 scenes of, like, this is, like, a family time meeting area, and you can meet your wife. And I feel like we've done that a couple of times now, where it's just exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need that much of it.
I feel like at the end of season 1, which ends on such a sort of dramatic cliffhanger, almost feels like they've undone a lot of that. Mm-hmm. You know, you had Heliar making her big statement, and then it's just like, nope, I was a bit drunk.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then Helly like trying to hide it from them for like no reason, really. It does take down the excitement of what's been built before, you know. And now we're gonna have like some drama about, you know, John Turturro knows that she's lying, and this doesn't add a lot for me. I just wish that it was tighter. You know, I'm still interested to see where this is going. You know, this isn't like a total like I hate it. I don't hate it.
No.
Yeah, it's all right, but yeah. And again, maybe if we'd been able to watch every episode, if we just waited until they were all out and then watched all of them, I think that I probably could give some of the more fluffy episodes and big chunks more of a pass, I think. What do you think?
I agree. I bet it's something, you know, I think everything you said is, I agree with. I think it's kind of like, probably in a few months I'll watch the whole thing again, and I bet I feel a bit more positive about it.
I suspect that might be the case, yeah. Like, I'm thinking about, like, Fallout show, which we both really liked, especially on a second viewing. That came out all at once.
Yeah,
right? Like I think even at the last minute, they announced, like, they're all coming out at the same time. And I was trying to think to myself, like, if I had to watch just one episode at a time once per week, would that impact what I thought about that show? And I suspect that it would, a little bit. You know. But I still like it, but...
Yeah.
And granted, there are things happening every episode of that.
And also,
not just one thing.
With things like Fallout and Severance and, you know, sort of generally with TV shows, they're like 10 or 12 episodes. It's not like... I don't know. It's not like it was, you know, I'm trying to think of a TV show now. Or a lot of TV shows that would run for like 25 episodes a season. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like the X-Files, let's say. So, you know, you'd watch 2 or 3 episodes which wouldn't have anything to do with the main story. But that's okay, because it's sort of, it's almost like a different medium, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But here's a prediction for you. Milkshake is deep undercover. And we won't find out until next season. Or maybe there'll be a hint.
Milkshake.
Milkshake.
Yes, milkshake, yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder about that too. And like every time he's on screen, I'm like, yay.
He's like an FBI agent or something.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so obsessed. Mm-hmm. Because his mission is to infiltrate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I as well think that there might be something deeper to his story. So.
Fuck it. Wait, you know, he's part of the Black Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They exist in this universe still. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope there's more of him, and I hope that there's more to him, because he's intriguing.
Now, contrast this to...
Go on, then.
Silo.
Yes.
Which we've watched.
Yes, we did.
We're on season 7. What? Season 7? We're on episode 7 of season 2.
Yes.
We're going to finish it tonight.
We'll finish it tonight, yeah. We tried, I think, like 1 or 2 episodes before, and we're like, and mentioned that on Dead Air in the long, long ago, the before times.
Which is all the time.
And...
that, what I just said, is in the before times. The words coming out of my mouth right now are in the before times.
That's how time works.
Thus is the dichotomy of time.
Anyway, some of you guys kept bringing it up. You should give it another shot. And we were like, okay, we were looking for something to watch day before yesterday.
Yeah, we watched like 16 episodes in 3 days.
Yeah. And it's actually pretty damn good. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to contrast it from... So trying not to spoil anything, but in season 2, there's a bit about possibly another silo or a time before. It's not quite clear. And there's a kid in it who you can tell by the way it's filmed, like he's sort of important, or at least the focus of this bit. And it could have easily been the whole episode following this kid and those events, and it isn't.
Yeah, it's just a little setup for what's coming later, and then we're back with right where we left off.
With Rebecca Ferguson.
Like, right where we left off with her, yeah. Yeah, I know when we started watching it, we both said that, like, wow, this didn't waste our time.
Yeah, and I don't think Severance wasted our time, because it's short, that was an only 40-minute episode. But it feels... And again, it might just be because we can watch all of it.
I think that
it's way less frustrating.
Makes a difference. Yeah. I think that because especially the second season is like had some like slower stuff in like some of the first couple episodes, excuse me. It's kind of like picking up the action now, but I do think that if I had to watch just one of those a week, every week, I would be more frustrated. But being able to watch just kind of straight through, yeah, it's good. And I was thinking about, while we were watching the first episode, was like trying to remember, like, why is it that this didn't, like, really do much for us the last time? And I was thinking about it, I was like, I think that, like, just some of the, like, lore, some of the, like, terms, like, I don't want to go clean, we're going to be forced to go clean, we're going to have to go clean, made me, like, like, kind of, like, find it a bit, like, I don't know, hokey, some of it. But then after watching, like, a couple more episodes and just kind of accepting it and letting it sink in and then letting the world kind of present itself more, it's actually really good. Yeah, I quite like it.
Yeah, I don't remember why I didn't get on board with it before, but I thought, I was under the wrong impression that it would be about life in the silo, where, I don't know, like it's Deep Space Nine or something, where it's just in the silo and the society is different, but also the same. But actually, there's a story about essentially an existential crisis for the silo, and like a lot of sort of class stuff without it being too direct.
Yeah, those themes are there, but it's not... Like, the story just kind of takes place within, like, the backdrop of those themes without it being, like, it can be its own story without, like, having to always, like, it doesn't overdo it, if you know what I mean, with that. Like, those themes exist without really being, like, overwhelming the actual story.
Yeah.
And do you want to say what it's about? Or anything?
Well, it's about 10,000 people live in an enormous silo. There's been some sort of rebellion about 140 something years beforehand, which destroyed all of their history. So right now, when we see them, they don't know why they're there. The Earth, they think the Earth, or at least outside where they are, is poisoned. And they essentially live in a huge bunker, a sort of cylindrical bunker, I suppose, with no contact on the outside world or other silos or anything. We don't know if there are other silos or other bunkers or other survivors. I don't think we even know if we're in North America. And this is kind of, constantly questioned, it seems like, well, why can't we do this? And certain technologies are restricted, but it's unclear why. And a lot of people have questions, even people in power.
And then there's some like mysterious murders that kind of start things moving.
Mysterious murders and questions about like infertility and deliberate infertility and things. That's right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Tim Robbins, is he the baddie or not? We had a big debate over that.
Yeah.
I was like, Tim Robbins is going through the ventilation shafts like a big spider.
Yeah.
He's Slender Man.
Tim Robbins is Slender Man. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't immediately obvious to me how some of the characters were going to turn out, with exception to Common, who is just playing it so, like, evil man.
You see,
but it works.
Yeah, you see, I disagree. Like, he is playing it like that, but... So Common, he's a rapper.
rapper, artist, activist,
Actor.
I believe. Yeah.
He plays Sims in this, who's essentially the head of, essentially the secret police. Not so secret police. The special police. Right?
Yeah.
The Raiders. Yeah. And he's very... He's got his black trench coat on and stuff. And it is very tropey. But I wasn't sure, because I thought, well, maybe that's the twist.
Maybe it's a red herring.
Maybe, like, oh, how bad is he? How much does he know?
Yeah.
And it keeps you guessing for quite a bit.
I really like him in it.
Me too. I think
really
he's
watchable.
Yeah, he is. There's some very strong performances in it.
Yeah, I think Rebecca Ferguson's great. And I liked her in other stuff. Loved her in Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah. Like, the perfect amount of, like, chewing the fucking scenery in that one. And she's a lot more subdued here. She's an engineer. God, my hand too close to you?
Yeah, she's very good.
This off the phone. There we go.
Yeah, and Tim Robbins as well. I was a little bit afraid at the beginning that he was just going to be in a few. And no, he's a main character.
Yeah.
And Tim Robbins.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that in the opening credits it changes each episode, like the first episode was and Rebecca Ferguson.
Right.
We just see her at the end. I think it's just done according to, like, screen time per episode, the top billing. But
Yeah, I like it. I want to see where it goes. There's going to be 2 more seasons. Apparently, they've done all the paperwork, which means they can't go back on it. So it's going to be 4 seasons long, and 2 are out now. I would say that the first episode, like, now in hindsight, now that I'm on season 2, I can see why it did it the way it did. But the first episode, we're introduced to characters who are not main characters. And
it's just the setup.
Yeah, I sort of, as someone who casually went into it, it wasn't clear what was going on, and I didn't like it that much. But really, my main criticism of it is the lighting, and that's it. Really, yeah. Like I just think that it suffers from the TV thing of, like, almost, not always, but almost wherever they are, it's always like, oh, everyone's lit well and with 3-point lighting, and I can tell this is on a soundstage.
Yeah, in this underground bunker.
Yeah, and there's bits where like people are like, oh wow, I can't see anything, and like, well, I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
It needs to be darker.
And then we couldn't see anything, and I can see why they've done that, but I also understand what you're saying. Like, there's bits like it's, meant to be, like, clearly, like, super dark, and, like, it's just not. Yeah, you're right when you've pointed that out, watching it. This does look like studio lighting versus, like...
Yeah, I mean, it's TV, it's...
Like, I can see, like, that it's lit by, like, yellow lamps, but... excuse me. Yeah. But... Yeah, I don't really mind. Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Another thing as well is, because they've got a complicated relationship with technology, and they have a big book of law, and it's almost like their constitution, but sort of far bigger than the constitution. It's their book of enshrined law, the Pact. And part of the Pact says, we can't use pulleys. Like, you have to walk up and down the stairs and stuff. Right, things like that. Like, you can't have magnification more than X amount and things. Does it say in the Pact that you can't make a slide?
Yeah, right.
Because that big
I didn't even think
spiral
of that.
staircase is
Just
right.
Put a slide on the edge of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You can't have pulleys. What about a bungee?
Yeah. Yeah. And that other minor criticism, there are a couple of little stunts that are just nonsense. Like, when she falls down that shaft and it looks like she falls 10 stories and lands on a pile of metal junk.
Yeah, what is this, Dying Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you weren't looking. Same thing. Something similar happened. This is George watching TV. Where a couple characters get on like a metal wire and like jump down the cavern and then like stop, and it looks like they fall like 10 stories, and it's not a bungee cord, it's like a metal cable, and I'm like, what?
Like that would rip your arms out.
Yeah, that would break your spine in half. Yeah. So minor criticism, but it's good.
Yeah, and
I want to know what's going to happen.
It's very earnest. There's very little humor in it.
Yeah, it takes itself pretty seriously.
In terms of the sci-fi, it's very grounded. So it's, like it almost sounds like Fallout, like the idea of people living in a bunker.
Yeah, but it's not like that.
But it's not like
all.
that at all, no.
Yeah. It's, nowhere near that kind of like silly, and goofy violence and stuff that you have from Fallout. It takes itself pretty seriously and does it like pretty successfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels pretty, like you say, grounded, pretty realistic overall. Which makes it easy to kind of get into the world, after a couple episodes. So yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, I mean, I guess... is it worth saying, like in Fallout, like, they've been in the bunker for what, like 200 years or something? But, obviously by virtue of it being a TV show, there's very distinct races, right? Like, shouldn't everyone all be Mocha by now?
No, I think that you're underestimating genetic variation.
Sure. Well, I was only being flippant, because what I was going to say was, like, are we going to get to a point where they do find another silo, and they're like, dun dun dun, it's like, hello?
It's all French people.
It's all French people, yeah. Because they're all American, and some of the American accents, I don't
that
think
is another minor criticism. There are some British actors who have a little twinge.
Well, is Rebecca Ferguson
She's
Irish?
English, she's not American, I can say that.
Yeah.
She sounds, there's little moments where she sounds a bit like English or something.
I thought in your general
Just like a word, but like I can hear it.
Yes.
But that's okay. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Maybe people talk funny. I've been stuck down there for a long time. I don't know.
I'm Tim Robbins, and I'm the mayor of this place, and what a terrible thing it is that people want to go outside to clean.
Yeah. I don't know where this was shot, but there are several actors who I'm pretty sure are not American who are doing American accents. It's mostly pretty good, but there's just occasionally, like I said, just like a word, like the way that, like the inflection on something. I'll be like, that's not.
Do you think they should have had different accents down in, like, in mechanical? They all talk like this. And down here, we'll fix it up. If you would.
Or, right, governor.
Yeah. Shine your toaster.
Yeah.
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 Might not be enough for the suits upstairs, but some beans on toast are great for me.
Yeah. Well, that would be funny, but...
Yes, yeah, sort of ruin the tone, yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
That's pretty good.
He's wearing like a beret and he's got a baguette and everything.
A baguette, a cigarette, and a bottle of wine.
Yeah, like these are people who have one movie in their silo and it's just a French movie and they're like, that. We'll live like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a French movie, it's Artie Farty from Art Attack. What his name was. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, anything else? What now? Nothing.
You wanted to mention one other thing.
Oh, Ratopia.
Oh, just real quick. Yeah, so thanks for you guys who continued to suggest it.
Yeah.
Because we did.
I'm looking forward to watching
Give it a go. And yeah, we're going to watch some more when we're done here.
So Ratopia is a game that I got on Steam probably not long after we stopped doing Dead Air regularly. And it is a sort of strategy city building game on a 2D plane where you are a queen rat. Queen Gouda is what I call her. And you play as a rat and you build stuff in the underground of a hill. It's a little bit like Oxygen Not Included in the way it sort of plays without the physics element. It's very cutesy, but it has some very interesting gameplay beyond that, where you build a city two-dimensional. It's got all the usual sort of city building stuff, production chains, and there's a defense element to it where you can get invaded by things like weasels and things. But it's really interesting in that its economy is sort of probably like the deepest economy I've ever encountered in a game, where all of the money is constantly accounted for. And
It's like a set amount of money. Right?
Well,
And
you
you can like print money.
You start with a certain amount of money, and you can mine gold or bronze to turn into money, but you have to turn it into money, and you can trade stuff away for more money. But if you don't do that, there's the same amount of money in the economy, and you pay people, and you can change what they're paid, but you can also change how much things cost, which doesn't help you, because if someone buys a bar of soap, they're not paying you, they're paying the soap maker.
Yeah.
So, but you can also put a tariff on that, so they do pay you. You can also give people welfare, or things like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, like one thing, like doctors get paid directly by people going to see them. So if you don't have a lot of sick people, the doctors end up not having any money. So you can say, actually, that's free, and you're going to get paid a set amount every day.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Your soldiers, you can decide, like, they'll get paid loads, but then at a certain level, just soldiers get taxed at a certain level. You can change taxes based on job as well as class. There's distinct classes. It's not perfect. It doesn't have inflation in it and things like that. I think there is an element now, I haven't played it in a couple of months, but I think there is an element now where people have monetary satisfaction on a, what would you call it, on a mean level. So they can't just be rich, they have to be rich compared to other rats.
Yeah, right.
Which makes a lot of sense. But you know, there's no, like I said, there's no, from what I can tell so far at least, there's no inflation. You know, if you dig loads of gold and everyone ends up with thousands of coins each, the value of coins doesn't depreciate, the economy can't collapse. But it's really interesting how you can play with it. And you can, you know, what you can do is you can have a very sort of healthy economy without you yourself, without the bank having a lot of money. You can put that back into circulation, or you can suck it all out and use it to trade. And yeah, I like it. It's really good.
Yeah, I remember when you got it. You were looking for like a sort of community building, city building type game. And I haven't played it, but I remember when you were playing it, and you were like, "This is like the most." Like realistic, intense economy of any game I've ever played. In a game about like some little cutesy little rats, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a lot to say because I haven't played it. I'm sure I will at some point. But yeah, it sounds interesting. What do you?
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
And like the art style is kind of like not for me. I would say it's very, very cute, and I mean it's nice. You know, it works really well. When I say not for me, I just mean like if you were just browsing, you might look at it and be like, but it's, yeah, the gameplay is deep.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's cool. I got no games to talk about. I'm still playing Abiotic Factor. Started a single player game after we finished Reactors. I'm waiting for 1.0.
What a great game.
It's pretty awesome.
Shout that out again. Abiotic Factor.
Abiotic Factor. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's probably pretty easily up in some of my, probably like my top 5 favorite games now, I think. I have played so freaking much of it. And going through again, like I did not just remember where everything was for a game that is, you know, there's a lot of different like paths you can take to get to different places, but it's pretty linear overall in terms of the main story, and still totally replayable.
Yeah.
And a different playing experience when you play it completely alone.
Yeah.
All the vehicles and like platform carts and stuff that we
much more essential.
hardly ever use. Like, yeah, I use them all the time now. It's a single player game. Just as fun, just a little, very slightly different gameplay.
Yeah.
But really good.
And I'm going to play it single player as well at some point. I'm going to turn it up so it's always night.
Yeah, tell me how that goes.
Yeah.
You're going to need... I mean, you'll have to see how that works with the electricity situation.
Well, yeah, otherwise
that could
we
get very
couldn't play it.
frustrating. Yeah. I mean, unless you just use pests. Everywhere
But you
pests.
can't unlock that until you've got some
I don't think I've unlocked it yet.
electricity
And
doings.
I just got back to labs, so...
Well, anyway.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
The new update with the reactors
It's good.
was really good.
Yeah, I like the gatekeepers. They were a lot of fun.
Good evening, everyone!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Very fun. Yeah, I can't wait. The next update is the last one, so... Yeah, somebody was really good during this.
Do you want to bring him up to say goodbye? Are we done?
I think we're about ready to wrap up. Clybo, hey, do you want to come up for a minute? Do you want to come say hi to the camera?
Come on.
Here. Come on up here. Yes, come here. No, don't run away.
Come
on.
here.
Come here.
Come on.
Come here. Come here for a minute. Say hello.
Baby Mark.
Baby Mark. Mwah. Yes, big boy. Say hello for a minute, sir.
There he is.
He's a big man. You're such a good boy. I heard you dreaming down there.
Say bye. Bye-bye.
Put me down.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Climb up.